Star Wars Outlaws was a failure at launch, and before you jump down my throat, that's what Ubisoft said when the game sold only about 1 million copies and they deemed it a financial failure. If you're familiar with my channel or not, you may have seen this video around Star Wars and its updates and how it is now. This game is really in a good state and there is a lot to love. We also need to talk about why the planned sequel was cancelled before it even happened, what the reasons were, and also why I still have a bit of hope that we might still see one.
Never tell me the odds.
So back to the Star Wars Outlaws sequel that never happened, not officially anyway. There are various reasons that this game was going to have an uphill battle all along, even before launch, and it has to do with things like Ubisoft fatigue, where people were just kind of tired of their games with all their checklist generators and huge maps full of icons. Now combine that with the fact that people aren't exactly in a very good place with Star Wars right now either. The recipe's not done yet, because if you add the state of the game at launch with a bunch of bugs and also some gameplay elements that weren't really well thought through, then you've got a recipe for disaster at launch.
Wait a minute, how did this happen? We're smarter than this.
On top of that, a lot of people just weren't happy with the design of the protagonist. And here's the thing, I actually do agree that Kay Vess kind of looks weird. Because if you look at the artwork, she actually looks kind of cool in some of that stuff, in the concept art, but they did some weird funky stuff with her 3D model and her animations, and it really didn't do them any favors.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
It actually infuriates me a little bit that there's those grifters out there that'll find one frame of the character to make her look as bad as possible, and then they'll go put that out on the internet and tell their audiences that this game is trash and that they shouldn't pay attention to it at all. And that's really annoying, because a lot of people in the comments of my previous video jumped on saying they don't understand why this game got all the hate at launch. The sales weren't good enough, and the ideas and the plans to make a sequel were scrapped. I don't need to defend Ubisoft. Honestly, they don't even deserve defending in so many cases. The truth is, I don't care much about Ubisoft, but I do care about the games, and I do care about the developers, especially when they go and lose their jobs because of bad decisions made by the people.
You have failed me for the last time, Admiral.
Now, the reason this is kind of sad and disappointing is because we can see that at the state that the game is in now, they figured it out. They finally got it to the point it needed to be to show us that, hey, there is a good game here. This is a solid game and it's enjoyable, it's fun, and it's rock solid. Look, the game isn't perfect. It's got its issues, and that's where a sequel could come into play. Because the more and more gaming goes on, the more and more unaffordable it's becoming.
Thing of which, how's he gonna pay for all of this?
Over time, the games go on sale or eventually go to something like Game Pass. And that's exactly how a lot of people have experienced Star Wars Outlaws right now. And that's why so many people like it now. It's at a price that people can actually afford in a state that people want to play. But how could Ubisoft actually really think about this, considering the fact that they just can't risk another failure and they can't risk investing that much money into a sequel for a game and have it flop once more? And I have an idea on how I think it could work, and you can let me know in the comments what you think.
Money? Or is it something else?
I think the way forward here is something that we've seen a few other companies do lately, but we're not seeing enough of lately, which is same generation, same engine sequels, just like we used to get back in the old days. Right now, a great example of this is Forza Horizon 5 and Forza Horizon 6. We haven't waited a whole generation to play the next Forza, and we haven't waited for a whole new graphics engine to play the next Forza. They made another one, and they improved on it. And it's the way it used to be back in the day quite often. God of War 2, things like that on the old PlayStations. I mentioned the Assassin's Creed games earlier, and they are actually a perfect example to go back and look at, because Assassin's Creed 1 was promising a huge generational jump in terms of its visual quality and the worlds that it was going to provide, and when the game came out, it actually wasn't that great. It was quite a disappointment when the reviews hit and we all realized this isn't quite as cool as we thought it was going to be. But then, not long after, same generation, same hardware, they released the sequel. This actually makes a case for and against the sequel for Ubisoft, because I was actually reviewing it at the time and I was telling some of my close friends, guys, Assassin's Creed 2 is incredible. This is potentially a Game of the Year contender. And this is where that negativity comes in, because it inherits that negativity from the first game. And, you know, they just didn't kind of buy it. But when that game finally launched and the scores came out and everything, people realized, whoa, this thing's scoring high, like we're hearing great things. And that game landed up going on to be not just a great success for Ubisoft, but they also carried that into more and more games, all again within that same era.
All right, distract him, Nix.
So what could a sequel actually have looked like, or should look like? Now, I like the idea that they could take Kay Vess and they could go and expand the story out into the universe, show more places, more planets, and add more gameplay mechanics and carry on the story of Kay Vess herself. But at the same time, I see some potential here, especially with some of the blowback on the first game, to create something new as well. They could kind of approach it like the Assassin's Creed games, where you've got a central game and theme, but you've got different characters, even different timelines. And I mean, Star Wars isn't exactly short on any of those. When it comes to locations and completely different times in all of these, you could keep a central theme of the scoundrels and the outlaws and to play one, but you could have a new game that has nothing to do with Kay Vess in this timeline. They could have something that's taking place in the middle of the Clone Wars, and they can have something that's taking place during the kind of sequel era and further back and all of that, and keep that theme, but have us play new Outlaws games. I think that would be kind of rad. Everything is there that's needed for a really great sequel that could become something special. Honestly, a Star Wars Outlaws sequel isn't the craziest idea. In many ways, it makes quite a lot of sense. Ubisoft already invested so much money into the first game, it didn't work out like they had hoped. But I really hope that somehow Ubisoft go read the comments, and even this video, if they go and look through those hundreds of comments of people saying, hey, this game is actually great, I've been having a blast, I've enjoyed this is one of the best Star Wars environments that I've seen. It would make me wonder now, would they consider the sequel? Knowing just how many people are actually on board now that they fixed it and now that people are playing it. There's still potential here. There's still a lot of what they invested their money into and their time into right here. And all they need to do is grab this and go and find us new stories that they can tell us, and new locations and new places. And Star Wars has so much of that they really have their pick. So whether or not they decide to stick with Kay Vess, change the character, redesign her, or do something completely new, I would love to see a new Star Wars Outlaws with more refinements and more improvements, and I think I'm far from being the only one at this point. This is really the kind of thing where I would really like to hear what other people have to say about this and what you think could be cool for a sequel. What kind of features would you like? What kind of protagonists? What timeline? I'd love to hear what you have to say about this, so please hit me up in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion about this. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button to let me know. And if you've been watching this, you might be very interested in seeing these videos, so you can check them out right here on the channel. I'm Nick from What's Good. I'll see you soon.
Sacre bleu.